What is up, guys? It's Jimbo here, and welcome back to another Diablo 4 video. Today we're taking a look at the Wolfnado, WERENADO, whatever you want to call it, because I wanted to showcase how good this build actually is. And not a lot of people are going to be able to be access to this build if you don't have the Tempest Raw unique, which I think is really unfortunate because this build took me from like tier 57, which I was like struggling with my shred build because obviously the way that it plays. And this was super comfortable on like Nightmare tier 62. The enemies are, I think, like 21 levels above me. And I do think that I could go even higher. Now, yes, there needs to be certain affixes on the Nightmare dungeon that you need to avoid. But this build is super safe as long as you are playing around and making sure you are occupying your... Like, it gives you the ability to just focus on your survivability while your abilities that you are using, i.e. the tornado, is doing the damage. So you can focus on staying alive. Unlike the lightning storm build, where you have to do a lot of standing still to do your damage, or you are using your shred where you have to like pick targets to go after and also take out. But once again, this build does require a unique, which is a little bit unfortunate, but yeah. So let's go through the build. I just wanted to showcase this. We'll talk about everything, the Paragon board aspects and such. So yeah, let's jump in. So let's start off with the skill tree. We're going to be pretty much using the same setup we've been using on other builds if you've seen them on my channel before, but we'll be starting out with Storm Strike, Enhanced Storm Strike, and Fierce Storm Strike as always to get that damage reduction and also generate us some vulnerable as well. Then we move into Tornado. Now, the cool thing about Tornado is that I believe it has another chance to spawn. Yeah, it does have another chance to spawn another Tornado. You can hit enemies with vulnerable. Now, I don't know whether or not this is like tied to it, but it feels like it also slows enemies as well. Maybe because of the element that I've got down here in the tree. But yeah, it just kind of... Maybe it's just I'm overthinking this, but yeah, you want 5 points into Tornado because this is going to do us a whole bunch of our damage. We have 3 points in Predatory Instinct, as well as the 3 for Werewolf form, giving us more movement speed. 1 point into Heart of the Wild, and 3 points into Wild Impulses. Then we move down to this defensive tree. We got 1 point in Ancestral Fortitude, 3 in Vigilance, 1 in Cyclone Armor, going all the way through to get Enhanced Cyclone Armor for damage reduction. Honestly, this is kind of amazing if you go either one of these because of how good the build is. I don't, a lot of the time, don't end up running into this stuff. And also, when I have Hurricane active, because I know this doesn't actually turn... No, it does turn into a werewolf skill when I'm using it, I believe. I'm not sure, though. Either way, with this, we have Blood Hell. Then we have Enhanced Blood Howl and Preserving Blood Howl, and all of these, you know, play into each other, which is really great. We have Hurricane, and then we have Enhanced Hurricane and Savage Hurricane for that damage reduction. 3 points into Endless Tempest, 1 point into Elemental Exposure. We do have 3 points into Nature's Reach as well. All of these will become storm skills or like werewolf skills, so they will play into the passives in this tree, which is Neurotoxin, which gives us slow. We also get Envenom, which allows us to do even more critical damage. I would like to get an amulet with more of this on to do even more damage, but unfortunately I haven't been able to find one. And then also Toxic Claws. Critical strikes with werewolf skills deal 23% of their base damage of poison. Then lastly, we have 3 points into Defensive Posture, 3 points into Defiance for that damage against elites, 1 point into Circle of Life, Grizzly Rage all the way through, and then Earth and Might. Moving into the Paragon board. This board is quite long. It has quite a few of the things available to us. You won't probably have access to this if you're level 70. You'll only be able to do like maybe 3 to 4 boards rather than 5. But anyway, let's walk through. First of all, we have Exploit. This is going to be great for giving us vulnerable damage. We'll make our way all the way through, grab ourselves Impel. And also Prime. I will be making my way down here to grab Tenacity when I get a lot more points, because I am 95, so I've just got a couple of points left. We move into Lust for Carnage. You want to get this board done immediately to get yourself Werewolf for more damage reduction. Then come up here and grab Lust for Carnage. make sure you grab Feral and also Ferocity. And then if you can, make your way up here as well to get Wild Call, getting the additional attack speed. But this isn't as necessary as as some people have been using on builds, because I felt like the attack speed was really good anyway with this. So yeah. And then before you go and path up to this board, I would recommend that you come through and get Heightened Malice early, because you can get maximum poison resistance as well for poison resilience, but you can also get Heightened Malice, which allows us to do even more damage. Then you come through, get yourself the Thunderstruck board. I would definitely recommend this specific setup, which is you come through, grab yourself Earth and Sky, which gives us more storm skill damage, more damage reduction, more intelligence as well. And this obviously helps out with all the different nodes that are around here. But before you go to this board, I definitely recommend coming through, getting your additional crit chance, which I'm going to be getting these eventually as well. Come all the way through, get yourself Thunderstruck, come all the way through and grab yourself Tempest for plus 30 critical strike damage. This is insane. Then you want to come through and get yourself the Constricting Tendrils board, because you're using this as a walkthrough to get Spirit to do even more damage. Then you walk through, or you get Courage as well. You walk through here to get yourself the Heightened Malice board again. Then you'll get yourself Fang and Claw to be able to do some additional damage across here. Walk through, and then eventually you're going to make your way through to Ancestral Guidance. If you are in an earlier level, I would definitely recommend this board that you can drop. And instead of going into Heightened Malice, you come through and you take the Ancestral Guidance board and have this here for the time being, because you can come through and get all these core skills as well. But I don't recommend, like, you maybe have to respec a little bit later. But Lust for Carnage is 100% what you want to go into. You want Thunderstruck, and you definitely want Ancestral Guidance if you are below, like if you're like level 80 and below. And then eventually when you have more points, you can respec the board and such. But yeah, so this is the Paragon setup, and it's very, very good. I've definitely used, Spirit here and also Exploit to begin with, but it's entirely up to how you want to play it. But yeah, that is the Paragon board. Spirit boons are super easy. Come down and get the Snake. You want to get Masochistic and Calm Before the Storm. 1 for Grizzly Rage, and 2 for the ability to heal ourselves, which makes it so good. You also want to get yourself Calamity. This is a good option. If you want a more of a defensive option, you can also go with Fortify, because we are using Howl quite a lot, and also our Cyclonic armor, which means that we're going to be able to fortify ourselves. But, you know, it depends on how your stats fare. We also have 30% critical strike damage, and then also wariness as well. Moving into the aspects. First of all, Tempest Roar is the main build here. We don't need to worry about the stats on this, purely because it is got fixed stats. And then the main thing that you want to do for your defensive stuff is get yourself Disobedience with as much total armor, damage reduction of all kinds, damage reduction while fortified, close enemies, distant enemies. Get yourself also damage versus poison, like damage reduction versus poison enemies as well. Total armor is great here. I have all stats rolled on this because unfortunately I've not been as lucky. Same with our pants. Definitely use yourself total armor, fortified, distance, close. 100% recommend this. And then we have Vigorous, which allows us for a 15% damage reduction while we are shapeshifted into our form, which is very, very good. I love this in combination. We are in the werewolf form all the time. And then the last one I would say for defensive stuff is on your boots. Damage reduction while injured, total armor while in werewolf form, movement speed is quite good, and spirit cost reduction as well. And if you can get one with 3 evades, this build is also very good. But I have evade grants 75% movement speed for a second as well. The only other area that we're going to have some defensive stuff on is our actual amulet, where we have Direwolf's Choker. I have spirit cost reduction, damage reduction versus close enemies, cooldown reduction, and werewolf skill damage. This isn't exactly what I would want. Probably want the stats that are in the description, but I would definitely want ranks to Envenom for that additional critical damage. Spirit cost reduction is really nice. Cooldown reduction is really nice, and then a damage reduction of your choice. Close, fortified is also very good too. The other offensive one we have is Mighty Storm. The Earth and Might key passive turns our Storm skills into Earth skills, essentially. It allows us to use it within that specific passive. This is very, very key. Crit chance, critical strike damage or lucky hit chance, and then just crit damage across the board, and then ranks to tornado. I have critical damage with werewolf skills here, and also critical chance against injured enemies. This is really, really good. I have a max roll on that as well, which is kind of nutty. And I have a low roll, unfortunately, on the critical damage for werewolf skills. And I haven't even re-rolled this as well. I could probably get even higher if I wanted to. Then our rings. This is the important part. The rings, you want lucky hit, critical strike chance, critical strike damage, critical strike damage and vulnerable damage. This is a good example here of one. If you can get critical strike damage with werewolf skills or vulnerable damage, either one of them is great for this one. But you can see that's what the ring kind of looks like when you have a decent enough roll on it. Unfortunately, I've been unable to get it. But on this one, we have Rampaging Werebeast, which allows us to stay in our Grizzly Rage form for longer whenever we get kills, and increases our critical strike damage. And then also Storm Chaser's Ring. This allows us to target enemies with tornadoes. Instead of it just being thrown out and being random, they actually go and target enemies, which is very, very good. Lastly, for our weapons, we have Accelerating on our totem to be able to give us critical strike, like attack speed, essentially, which is why I don't think you need it in the Paragon board. And then we have Retaliation, which essentially our core skills are increased by the amount of Fortify that we have, and I had Fortify a lot with this, so I had that all the time. Stats on the totem: lucky hit chance, critical strike chance, spirit cost reduction, and cooldown reduction. You can get a 20% cooldown reduction on this, which is nutty. I have resource generation on here. This is probably not what I would want. I think I have the full stats down in the description as well. And then on here, 100% you want vulnerable damage, core skill damage, critical strike damage, and then a critical strike of your choice. This could be damage to I've got werewolf skills here, which is also very good. I could have critical strike damage just flat, which is also quite good as well. But that is what I would recommend here on Retaliation. But yeah, let's talk about my final thoughts on the build and round everything off. My final thoughts on the build is it's super fun to play, and if you do get access to Tempest Raw, I do highly recommend that you play this. I think out of all of the Tempest Raw builds, I would say that this is probably the most fun. The Tempest Raw with Shred is a little bit, it's like super fast, but can be also quite squishy if you don't play the build correctly. And then also, you could use this with Lightning Storm, but it requires you also to stand still. And this is just super simple to play. It makes the game really easy. And if you do get access to the unique, you will be able to have a lot more attempts at higher Nightmare tier dungeons. As you can see on the screen right now, look at this. I'm just absolutely destroying a suppressor. And these are the most annoying enemies, in my opinion, when they have other modifiers on them as well. And I'm able to keep myself alive just by letting them, the tornadoes do what they want to do. And it's just kind of crazy. I'm obviously watching the footage on the second monitor here, but yeah, it's just super, super solid. And I'm going to be pushing this probably all the way until I get to 100, and then I can do my full Lightning Storm build. So stay tuned for that. But if the video has been helpful and you have enjoyed it, please leave a like on it, subscribe down on that little button down below, and also leave a comment on your favorite Druid build so far. And as always, this has been It's Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.